What values does Gen Z bring to us and to the world? What is the importance and what critical role do they play to the unique population at this particular time in human history? Hi, everyone. This is a presentation on leading Gen Zs. We are here at the International Maxwell Leadership Conference 2026 in Dallas, Texas. The title of this presentation is Leading Gen Zs, and this is a multi-part series. So let's dive in. We're going to start by considering the foundational truth that the future belongs to Gen Z. We know that every generation has their own time and their own turn to lead. And I want us to pause and to really think about this. Because if every generation gets their own turn, then eventually the Gen Zs would have their turn. And the Gen Z is not just up next for their leadership, they are actually stepping into leadership role. They are already shaping culture, they are influencing buying behaviors, and they are redefining communication. Slowly but surely, they are also reshaping leadership expectations. And here is the challenge for all leaders. Oh, and by the way, if I say leaders, I refer to anyone who has Gen Z in their cycle. It could be a teacher, a coach, a parent, an employer, an employee of Gen Z, and so on. So the challenge for anyone in this category is that if you don't understand Gen Zs, you cannot lead them effectively. If you don't listen to them, you cannot influence them meaningfully. And if you don't adapt to how they see things, you risk becoming irrelevant. Why? Because leadership is not just about the way we lead people or the way we want people to be led. It's the way people prefer to be led, adapting things to their unique scenario and making sure that we're able to carry them along on the journey to achieve the greatness that we deserve. We all know that Gen Zs are a different breed. They see things differently, they look at things differently, but they need authenticity, they need clarity, they need connection, and more importantly, they need the feel to be heard. So here is something for you to understand. Every generation has their own strengths, and every generation has their blind spots. For the older generation, they may bring experience, structure, and wisdom to the workplace, but Gen Zs bring innovation, adaptability, and they bring a fresh perspective. And true leadership is not about choosing one over the other. Rather, it's about bridging the gap. Because when generations work together, they don't just transfer knowledge, they can multiply impact. So as we begin this series, I want to ask you this critical question. Are you leading Gen Zs or are you struggling to understand them? Are you leading a Gen Z already or are you about to lead one? I want you to know there are valuable insights in this presentation that will help you to lead them better. Because the leaders who would win in the future would not be the ones who resist change. They will be the ones who learn, who adapt, and who connect. And that's exactly what we're going to do together in this short series. Welcome back to the part 2 of our series on leading Gen Z. In this session, we will be exploring something critical. That is the Gen Z paradox. Gen Zs are one of the most capable generations we have ever seen, especially if you look at the access to the information, to the technology, and to the capacity that they bring to the table. They are digitally fluent, they are resourceful, they are independent, and they can learn a wide variety of things on their own at any time. So this wide array of tools and the things within their capacity helps them to project confidence, to project self-sufficiency, They would often say, I've got this, I can figure it out, I can do this on my own. But at the same time, looking at our community around, Gen Zs, among many others, are experiencing some of the highest level of information overload and stimulation that the human race has been seeing so far. They are also in the midst of all this information overload, experiencing a high level of loneliness within their communities, which may lead to anxiety, depression, fear of missing out, and so many other things. They may also be less likely to admit to needing help from the older generations. So here is the paradox. On one hand, they look like they don't need help, but deep down, they do. They have a high level of independence and also high level of anxiety. Now, this paradox that they experience has been magnified by access to digital devices, because digital devices have put them in a position where there is constant access to information, constant exposure to comparison, constant pressure to perform, and constant noise and distraction. They are always connected, even though they many times feel alone. They are always informed, even though many times they feel overwhelmed, or they tend to get overwhelmed easily. They are always visible, but many times they are also uncertain. So what does this mean for leaders? It means that we cannot lead Gen Zs based on appearance alone. We have to understand this paradox and frame things in a way that connects with them. Just because they look confident doesn't mean they are secure. Just because they seem independent doesn't mean they don't need guidance. And Gen Zs don't need instructions. Rather, they need connection, they need clarity, they need support, and they need safe spaces to grow. Because when leaders understand the paradox, they can lead with empathy. And when leaders lead with empathy, they can unlock trust in this generation. And that trust is the gateway to influence. Welcome to part 3 of our series, Leading Gen Zs. Today, we're talking about the leadership shift with regards to leading Gen Zs. Because Gen Zs are not only changing culture, they are changing leadership perspectives and leadership expectations. They are changing expectations on what leadership means, principally in the way that they want leaders to understand them, in the way they want leaders to approach them, and in the way they want to be led. Because sometimes leadership has to be done in synergy and in partnership to get the results that we desire. Let's walk through some of the key differences in the leadership perspective from Gen Zs to the older generations. The older generations believe and know that your position gives you your influence. But for Gen Zs, it is your connection with them that gives you access to influence them. In terms of wisdom, the older generation believes that with your experience, you have wisdom, so others should listen. Gen Zs want you to show relevance before they can listen to you. What about in terms of order and disruption? The older generations believe in structures and systems to achieve things. Gen Zs, on the other hand, sees disruption as an opportunity. In terms of communication, the older generation believe that you have to listen to the leader. Gen Zs, on the other hand, believe that the leader should listen to them. In terms of decision making, for the older generations, the person at the top wins and has the last say. But for Gen Zs, it is the best idea that wins. The older generation sees the leader as the gatekeeper. Gen Z sees the leader as the guide. So what is happening here? Leadership, in terms of its perspective and the expectation, is shifting from authority to influence, from control to collaboration, from hierarchy to connection. And this shift is not optional. It is necessary to have a vibrant and successful leadership experience. Gen Zs will not respond to your title, but they will respond to trust, to authenticity, to leaders who see them, hear them, and value them. So, if you want to lead Gen Z, you must earn the right to influence them. And that right is built through connection and understanding. Welcome to the part 4 of this mini-series, Leading Gen Zs. Now that we understand Gen Z, The question is, how do we connect with them? Let me give you a simple framework using the acronym PROVE. P-R-O-V-E, PROVE. P stands for problems. Start with a problem, something that needs to be addressed. And in terms of problem, the Gen Z is not asking, what should I learn? They are asking, why do I have to learn this? What issue does this solve? How is this relevant to me? They prefer just-in-time learning to just-in-case learning. They prefer practical applications to theoretical theories. The next one is relationship. Gen Z wants connection. They want to build trust. And they care about people who care about them, who listen to them, and who connect and collaborate with them. O stands for ownership. Gen Zs don't want to be micromanaged. They want you to give them the responsibility, to show them the autonomy, but they prefer to own the outcome. And in owning the outcome, they will do better. The V is for visuals. They don't just want a bunch of words. They want to combine imagery with what they are learning so as to foster the learning experience. And the E is experiences. Gen Zs want to have the full experience, but they want someone to guide them through it, not to tell them the experience. And they want to be engaged throughout the whole process. Remember, Gen Zs don't want to be instructed, rather they want to be guided. Welcome to the part 5 of our series on leading Gen Zs. I hope you have watched and closely followed this series because we're building layer upon layer. Now, let's go deeper. Today, we'll be talking about guiding Gen Zs through a period of growth. And now the PROVE acronym in our last section applies to Gen Z leadership, influence, and development. So, let's dive in. Problem. Gen Zs grow best when solving real challenges. Not theoretical learning, but practical problems to influence change in them and in what they care about. R for relationships. Gen Zs grows best when everything happens within an authentic community. They want you to build bridges, connections, relationships, have the camaraderie before you can exert meaningful influence on them. O stands for ownership. They understand that growth happens through doing, taking ownership, taking responsibilities for all the processes and all the outcomes for what they are trying to accomplish or for what you are trying to accomplish through them. The V for the visuals, you know that growth improves when communication is reinforced visually. They want you to paint the picture, build the imagery, help them see it, and when they see it, they can take it to greater and higher heights. And the last is E, experiences. They want you to know that growth happens best on the job, in real time, and through real experiences. Gen Zs value their experiences and they want leadership to be a guide and a companion rather than instructing them. So, if you want to develop a Gen Z, don't over-lecture, don't over-control, don't over-structure. Instead, challenge them, connect with them, empower them, show them, and work with them. Because development is not something you tell them, it is something you build to them. Welcome to the final part of our series, Leading Gen Zs. Let's close with this. What values does Gen Z bring to us and to the world? What is the importance and what critical role do they play to the unique population at this particular time in human history? And I'll share with you 3 things. First is that they see the future early. They are able to spot patterns. And this has been augmented with technology and AI. And when they spot patterns, they are able to scale things greatly. The second thing is that they understand tomorrow's culture. They are not adapting to the culture. They are creating, reinforcing at the center of a cultural change. And the third is that those who don't engage with them have a real risk of missing out because they bring agility, innovation, and connection. So the question is not, is Gen Z ready to lead? The real question is, are we ready to listen to them, to understand them, and to lead them well? Because when we do, we are not just leading the Gen Zs, we are shaping the future. That is the key. So pay attention to the Gen Zs around you at your place of work or wherever you are, and be a force of influence by understanding them, connecting them, and helping them to scale things to the next height. Thank you.